Michelle, present as well. Ms. Vaughn, you're with us as well. Ms. Wilkins, Ms. McBride, myself, Mr. Kaloji, are you here with us? Mr. Kaloji? Yes.
I'm here, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, departments, Mr. Cruz?
Good evening, I'm present.
Someone has their phone ringing. They need to cut their phone off.
Working on that. I think I got it.
Alrighty.
Mr. Cherry?
I'm present. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Mr. Liston? Mr. Bridges?
Present.
Good evening. Mr. Wilson?
Present.
Mr. Douglas?
Present. Good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Daniels? Dr. Ames?
Good evening, I'm present.
Good evening. Mr. Anatari? Ms. Richardson? Mr. Lavenberg?
Sean Semple in for Mr. Mark Lavenberg.
Thank you. Good evening. Mr. Zelensky?
Present.
Good evening. All right, Council President.
Yes, Mr. Garcia.
Yes.
Chair is present.
I'm sorry?
Chair is present.
Mr. Anatari, thank you. Noted.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Anatari, you weren't coming in very clear. Mr. Garcia, will we be going right into executive session, reading off the resolution?
If that's your wish,
Prior
definitely.
Yes, I think that's best because I think it's an attorney has been on the line since approximately 5:10. So we want to, they're being paid by the hour. So I think we need to do that.
Certainly. Resolution 2022-461, authorizing the City Council of the City of Trenton to hold an executive session which excludes the public. Is there a motion?
And so moved.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Caldwell-Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Michelle?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins?
Yes.
Ms. McBride?
Yes.
Motion carried. I'll go ahead and make a breakout room now. Mr. Bridges, if you would please tell me exactly who needs to be included, or if it's just one attorney. Is there only one
Council
attorney?
President, I may, yes, Mr. Alan C. Roth, Esquire, Mr. Jeffrey Brenzi, Esquire, and the Florio Raval firm, or Kenny Raval, myself.
So are they all going to be in at once, Mr. Bridges?
Yes, they can.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All righty.
I'll go about assigning those now. One moment.
And obviously Mr. Kaloji as well. Is there anybody else that I may have neglected to designate to come in there that's part of those cases? I don't think so.
No, that's it, I believe.
Oh, and there was one more, Mr. Marco DiStefano.
Okay. And Mr. DiStefano. Just looking for Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison, where are you, sir? There you are.
I'm here.
I got you. I got you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think we have everybody here. One moment.
Okay, Joy.
Mr. Michelle,
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn? Ms. Vaughn, I believe you are with us. Ms. Wilkins?
Yes.
Gotcha. And Ms. McBride?
Yes, I'm here. Is Councilwoman Vaughn on mute?
It appears so.
All right.
Looks like she's speaking, but I can't see her.
Okay, yes.
There you go. Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Noted.
All
On
righty.
the call, Council President.
Yes, we may continue with the doc-
Moving on, moving to the Law Department, Resolution 22-427, resolution authorizing settlement of a civil action in the matter of Zoraida Gote via the City of Trenton in the amount of $12,500.
So moved.
Second.
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 Thank you. Roll call. Ms. Caldwell Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. Michelle,
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins,
Yes.
Ms. McBride.
Yes.
Motion carried. Resolution 22-430, resolution authorizing amendment to increase the contract which was awarded to Weiner Law Group, LLP, by way of resolution 22-271 to provide professional legal services regarding general municipal litigation and other legal matters through a fair and open process in an amount not to exceed $20,000 in accordance with NJSA 19:44A 20.5 at SEC for a period covering January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Ms.
Council
Caldwell
President,
Wilson?
excuse me, I have a question.
Yes,
Sure.
go right ahead, Councilwoman.
Yes, Council President, was this on the docket last week or the previous docket? Let me ask.
Which 22-430,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Garcia?
Council President, if I may jump in?
Yes, go right ahead.
Yeah, it actually was on the docket last week, and for some reason it was pulled. I think there was a mistake with this one that was not supposed to be pulled, and another one that was supposed to be pulled. So it was pulled, but it should not have been.
But there was okay.
It was never voted on. It was pulled. I believe Councilwoman Wilkins thought it should be pulled based on her notes
No,
from
sir.
so I don't know who did, because
No.
at that time I actually lost. I specifically remember this because I lost service and I wasn't able to get in by the time it was pulled. But it was pulled because under somebody's notes, this from docket was supposed to be pulled, and this was not supposed to be pulled.
Before you call names, you should make sure though, Mr. Bridges.
Okay.
It wasn't
So
me.
is there if there
I thought it was voted on. I don't know. I thought
No,
it
it definitely was not.
Mr.
It definitely
Garcia,
was
can Mr. Garcia check, please?
not. Absolutely, yes, sir.
Sure.
I mean, yes, ma'am. Excuse me.
Give me one moment and I'll look at a previous,
Yep, thank you.
certainly.
Mhm.
And then I want to know who asked to.
Let's see. Let's see. Okay. This is of the 29th. Oh, wait, we're going to need, give me one moment. Actually, I will start from here. I have it on for roll call. I had it at the review time. Give me one moment for the updated copy of this docket. Let's see.
Mr. Garcia, if you
Yes.
think you'll be able to find it, cool. If not, I mean, if based on Councilwoman Wilkins' concerns, we could just pull it and then we'll memo this and provide it to the next council, the next meeting. But I do have a specific recollection. This was pulled and not voted on. I wouldn't bring the same
Yes.
resolution back twice. So if it's going to be difficult, just pull it and we'll punt to the next game.
Okay, I'm just
Council
going to note it's
President?
pulled.
Council President?
Yes, woman.
I went and got my old docket since Mr. Garcia couldn't find it. And I'm looking at it's the same resolution number. It was actually pulled by the administration. Because Mr. Bridges said I pulled it, but it was actually pulled by the administration.
So
it would have been pulled by me and I didn't pull it, but whatever the case.
Maybe Mr. Cruz did. I don't know, Mr. Bridges,
know.
but you said that I did, and I didn't.
All right.
Okay,
I didn't mean it personally. I just thought it's something that you pulled out and you
not
questioned
personally.
it.
No, I understand, but I know that, if we're going to get it, we got to get it right at least. So it was pulled by the administration.
So if it hasn't been voted on, we may move to if we get a motion. Were we already into the motion for this? Did we already have a second?
I believe we were to the
It was
vote,
moved
but I
and
had a
seconded.
question.
All righty. So we may continue with the vote, Mr. Garcia.
Okay.
Mhm.
In that case, roll call, Ms. Caldwell Wilson. Ms. Caldwell Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn.
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins.
Yes.
Ms. McBride.
Yes.
Motion carried. Resolution 22-446, resolution authorizing settlement of a civil action in the matter of Danielle London versus City of Trenton in the total amount of $300,000.
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion. I heard a second. I'm sorry. Who's the second? Who's the second?
Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Roll call, Ms. Caldwell Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle.
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn.
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins.
Yes.
Ms. McBride.
Yes.
Motion carried. Resolution 22-4. I'm sorry.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Mr. Bridges is going to pull the next two resolutions. So this is the time for him to pull 22-447 and 22-448. Mr. Bridges?
That's correct.
Noted. Moving on to finance, resolution 22-449. Resolution. I'm sorry.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
would you please just note it on your
On my
record?
copy on the screen?
No.
Oh.
In your records, in your notes, that these two resolutions were pulled by the administration based on more information, some more information that needs to be researched, and that the administration will bring them back accordingly.
Correct.
Noting now.
We may continue.
Noting. Okay. Resolution 22-449, resolution authorizing transfers to be made by the CFO for the calendar year 2022 appropriations, the amount of $4,223,000.
So moved.
Second.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yeah, so could someone explain to me why are we needing temporary appropriations at this juncture?
It's not temporary appropriations. It's budget amendments.
Oh, it's budget amendments. Okay, no
Yes.
problem. Okay,
But weren't these amendments voted on prior to the last meeting? Wasn't the amendment?
You can't have budget amendments till the budget is adopted. The budget was adopted by the director of local government.
Okay.
and this is for calendar year budget 2022.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Madam President, if I may add, Adam Cruz, Business Administrator.
Yes, go right ahead.
The transfers, Madam President, are actually doesn't mean that we are adding additional expenses to the city's adopted budget. This is only transfers that are happening from department to departments. When some departments are low in some line, then we take money that we know are going to have in excess in other departments and move them around. So we still stay within the adopted budget amount. No additional costs.
All right.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman Wilson.
Yes, I would like to know, either Mr. Zelinsko, Mr. Cruz, why you're transferring $70,000 out of the animal control operating expenses. Mr. Cruz, someone? Can you answer?
I am actually looking, woman. Give me 1 second and find the line.
We had additional monies there that we spent from money that was originally appropriated out of the OE. We're paying for out of a grant. So we didn't need those money in animal controls in the operating budget.
How much was the grant for?
It was $450,000.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You may continue, Mr. Garcia.
Certainly. Roll call, excuse me, Ms. Caldwell Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. Michelle,
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins,
Yes.
Ms. McBride.
Yes.
Motion carried. Resolution 22-450, resolution authorizing for the insertion of a special item of revenue in the budget of a municipality pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-87, Chapter 159, Public Laws 1948, New Jersey Economic Development Authority, Brownfields Impact Fund Grant Agreement, $202,858.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Ms. Caldwell.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman Vaughn.
I have a quick question. I don't know if Mr. Capasso is on the line, but nonetheless, this is for the remediation. The grant money is going to be used for the remediation of the Prospect Avenue old, New Method Cleaners property, right? Right. And having said that, he did answer my question last council meeting pertaining to the entity that owns the property, which is city publicly owned property, taxpayer owned. But I'm just curious, again, whether we have had any indication of interest from, external parties for that property. Because again, we're getting monies in to clean up properties that are publicly owned. And potentially, I would think that we are going to sell them and get them back on the tax roll. So I'm just curious as to why the city is making this investment when we can put the cost to the potential buyer or developer. Can someone answer that question for me? Could it be the business administrator and or Mr. Capasso or Mr. Daniels, the housing economic developer? development.
I don't believe Mr. Daniels is on the line. I didn't hear him during roll call. But Mr. Cruz.
Yes, I am here, Council, Madam President.
Yes.
The question is whether whether the money could be used for private cleanup, Councilwoman?
No, I mean, why burden the government? Why would we, the government, the taxpayer, why would we want to take on that exercise or the cleanup when we can just sell it to the developer as terms of purchase?
Yeah. Well,
what interest or how does that benefit the taxpayers?
Well, that is actually a good question, Councilwoman. As we all know, many cities across New Jersey, across the nation, during the Industrial Revolution, they used to use these properties, and regulations were not really there, and so they used to do a lot of operations with chemicals and all these other things. And as soon as their operations ran out and the laws became more stringent with DEP, we found out that a lot of these companies were actually using chemicals that were bad for the environment, bad for the water. And so they became vacant, where you couldn't operate. You couldn't sell them, you couldn't develop them, and you couldn't even. And now there's many legislations that prohibit you from actually conveying land that is actually toxic for use. So there are several levels of cleaning that are acceptable by new regulations. And so when the city cleans up these properties, is because nobody else is going to take on the responsibility, because we will never know how much it will take. And so we go and begin cleanups, and then the city decides up to how much are we going to clean up to the type of use that we are going to give that property. Whether it's we are now putting a 12-inch concrete slab on top of it to maybe make it usable for something else. Is housing permitted? It all depends on the levels of cleanliness that we can provide, and then we can, as you said, are we bringing it back to the taxpayer? Back to so that we are charging taxes again. And again, it all depends on how much we can clean up.
Yeah. So having said that, has there been an assessment of the return on this investment? So we're going to spend $200-something thousand to clean it up potentially, and so what do you think the forecast or the ROI, the return on investment for the taxpayer will be on this particular property? I'm very familiar with that property. I think most Trentonians are who've been around for a long time. That's in my age group and older. Is the new method cleaners used to be there, and I'm sure our land use and development ordinance restricts that stretch of land to be used for commercial use. I mean, I wouldn't think that would turn to residential, but that's another question for another day. Right. Unless Mr. Daniels is on the line to tell us rather that the land use and land development ordinance is going to stay the same for that stretch of property, because Prospect Avenue along that block is all commercial and industrial.
Right. So it's based on the zoning.
What I want to know is, have there been an assessed value for the property once post the remediation?
Yeah. So that will depend on the amount of cleanup that we do on the property, Councilwoman. Okay. As I mentioned, it all depends on how much up to what level we can bring it. We can bring the cleanup.
Okay. So all right. So more discussion. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Is there any other questions before moving forward? All right, Mr. Garcia, we may take this to a vote.
Certainly. Ms. Caldwell-Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Michelle?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins?
Yes.
Ms. McBride.
Yes.
Motion carried. Resolution 22-452, resolution authorizing the application for an acceptance of grant funds from New Jersey Department of Health, Office of Local Public Health, Strengthening Local Public Health Capacity Program 2023 in the amount of $274,735.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any questions?
Council President.
Go right ahead, Councilwoman Vaughn.
So strengthening public health, what does that mean? And in what respect? So
Dr. Lopez.
That sounds pretty broad, right? In what areas is that money going to be used for? That's, strengthening public health. What does that mean? Could Dr.
Lopez.
Ames, is she on the line?
Oh, excuse me.
Council President.
Go right ahead, Dr. Ames.
Yeah, thank you. Councilwoman Vaughn, the strengthening grant is pretty much about outbreak preparedness. So we're talking about the COVID pandemic and other communicable diseases such as hepatitis A, B, C, as well as monkeypox, HIV, AIDS. And so that's what this grant is leaning towards. And what it's covering is salaries of 3 individuals, 2 public health nurses. I have 5 currently. So this allowed me to hire 2 additional RNs, making us have 7. And it will also cover an outreach coordinator who will cover the logistics and assessing of the vulnerable populations and keeping track of recordings and documentation for we can have for this grant.
Oh, so the salaries come out of grants, or does the salaries come out of for these new hires that you're bringing on board for further build out of your department? So I thought that we budgeted for those line items, and I'm not aware of grant money, or rather the grant money should be used for funding salary and wages. Is that standard practice, Mr. Zielinski? I mean, why would we use grant money to fund salaries?
Well,
maybe Councilwoman Wilkins can explain that as well, because she is our subject matter expert when it comes to the budget. I
have other grants that cover salary and wages of my nurses. I have other grants that cover their salary and benefits as well.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you. But I'm sure other directors across the department may be using grant money for that purpose. But I'm questioning whether that's prudent or,
But this is what this grant is for. This grant is specifically for that.
I'm not asking you now.
Okay.
I answered the question that I asked you, but I'm not asking. This is a more financial budget question and best practice around budgeting. So that's not your expertise, and I'm not directing it to you. I asked the finance director and/or Councilwoman Wilkins, who have that expertise.
It all depends on what the grant calls for. This grant specifically was to hire additional help to help with communicable diseases.
Well, it didn't say that. It said to strengthen health services in those areas. It didn't say hire resources or to fund salaries.
It's strengthening the program if we hire more staff.
Well, no, strengthening program could be building out a facility, a number of things, right? So
it can be interpreted though as hiring staff to increase the program.
Well, but since I've been in the budget process, and we budget salaries and wages from the operating budget, right? Not all. But again, Councilwoman, thank you.
Yes.
Can you tell me what the common practices or standard practices?
Councilwoman Vaughn, yes, they do. We do have various positions within the city of Trenton that are budgeted through grants. These positions are specifically toward the actual grants. So yes, the city of Trenton does do that, as well as with, for example, our CDBG grant. Our CDBG grant does have money set aside for certain staffing. that particular staff gets paid directly out of the CDBG grant only. But I do have a question for Dr. Ames. Dr. Ames.
Well, excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Councilwoman Vaughn, are you,
Yeah, so,
are you satisfied?
I just want to say that in reviewing the guidance, when you talk about grant money that comes from the federal government, HUD, CDBG grant, you know, the CARES Act, what's the other? The ARPA funds, they specify, yes, that those monies can be used for resources, human resources, the fund salaries, but I thought that they were more dedicated, for resources that's going to help facilitate and install or implement that particular project or program. Not just arbitrarily say, oh, we're going to hire a resource over here, and that resource is working in the animal shelter, and this is and Director Ames's animal shelter division. Whereas the grant says that the resource money, the money is supposed to be used for, and particularly to do the work that's associated with building out additional, services. So I just want to be clear that the money that was allocated for this particular program, as described, the resources are going to be working on that program. I don't think that grant money is supposed to be used to, say, fund resources in the animal shelter, right?
Madam President, can I answer Councilwoman Vaughn's question? This is Adam Cruz, Business Administrator.
Absolutely. I'm just asking, because we have crossed the line in this respect, but I just want to make sure that my understanding of grant funds that come from the federal government, when they say you're supposed to use the grant money for this program, and you can hire resources, you can, buy materials, buy equipment, etc., to facilitate that program. And when that program is implemented, those resources are ramped down or rolled off. But I just want to be clear on that. So to hire a nurse, long term, ongoing, when the funding comes off that grant, then where's that person's salary going to sit, or how's that going to be funded? I think it's just not clear.
Right.
I do believe that is the case. I'll read through I'm not going to hold it up, Council President, but I do believe that that when the grant monies come into the city and it's a program or for a particular program or project, the resources, that money is supposed to be used for the salaries for those resources that are going to be hired or contracted to install or perform that service. That money should not be used just arbitrarily throughout that department. But anyway, thanks, Council President. I yield my time.
Council President, this is Dr. Ames. Can I just say that the application guidelines speak specifically to personnel. So it does speak specifically to hiring these specific individuals for this grant. And will be the work that I spoke to, will be the work that will be conducted underneath this grant. And it's not a federal grant, it's a state grant. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Dr. Ames. Councilwoman Wilkins.
Yes, I just have a question for Dr. Ames. Dr. Ames, the actual grant, I believe what Councilwoman Vaughn was kind of getting to, the actual grant is called Strengthening Local Public Health Capacity Program. That's the name of it? Or is that the name of it?
They some fucker.
Dr. Ames.
Dr. Ames?
Ooh.
Mr. Cruz, Dr. Ames there?
She's there. I think she's muted. I don't think she can unmute herself.
Yes.
Yeah, she's muted.
So the title of the grant is called Strengthening Local Public Health Capacity Program 2023.
Right. So that's where the name came from. Now,
I'm sorry, Councilwoman.
That's
Look,
okay.
I'm here.
I said that you were muted. I didn't think you could unmute yourself.
I was having difficulty unmuting. Sorry.
Okay. Now, Mr. Cruz just clarified that the name of the actual program is Strengthening Local Public Health Capacity. That's the name of the program.
Correct.
To Councilwoman Vaughn's question and concern. Now, the only concern I have is this grant only for 1 year, and we would have to reapply, the city would have to reapply to assure that the nurses that are hired stay on board in order to continue their employment with the city?
Absolutely. And when we do hire personnel, we do advise them that this is a grant and it's based on a year by year, unless we are awarded additional years for that grant. So we're very upfront and transparent about that. Correct.
Okay. Now the only issue is we need the nurses, we need the additional staff for the city, and especially within Health and Human Services. But is there a contingency plan that the administration has or that you have in your department so that we can foresee keeping them even if we don't receive the grant next year?
Well, yes. Well, the state is deciding because it was originally for 3 years. And so we have constant meetings with the state New Jersey Department of Health. So they're looking to return back to a 3-year project. So right now, this is what we have for this first year. But we have continuous meetings regarding all of our grants with the State Department of Health. And we're hopeful and optimistic that it will return to a 3-year grant. But we are working concurrently on additional sustainable options to have additional nursing. So I'm not just focusing on this one grant. I do have other avenues that I am focusing on in event that this doesn't, lean forward the 3 years or continue forward underneath this grant.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, I have one more question with regards to this grant. Now, it's the preparedness, the outbreak preparedness program. I remember when I worked for the Department of Health and Human Services, part of the preparedness was drills and having the pods. The pods is an acronym for places of dispensary or something like that.
Yes.
So are we setting that up again? Because I remember we had a contract with a particular individual that was more or less, he kind of advised what to do, but the city actually implemented the situation. I'm wondering if that's coming back, because I know that we were using the Cure Bank Arena. We were using several of the schools because we have to have pods in all of the wards to assure that if an outbreak occurs, that people in those wards know where to go. So my concern was the pods coming back? And how are we getting this information out to the community if we have another outbreak or a pandemic such as COVID?
Right. And
because
so
I think this time we were more reactionary than proactive.
Right. And you're correct. And, you're talking about a pandemic that's new and no one is being familiar with this process, and it's something new. So across the whole world, everybody reacted. Exactly. So when you're talking about outbreaks or pandemics that's coming forward, you want to put in emergency preparedness. So we do have a grant that is being finalized, Councilwoman Wilkins, that has an emergency preparedness coordinator, which is Memphis Madness. That's in my department. So that's where the pods, the dispensary, and the drills and all of that will be coming out. But we're also doing that in conjunction with the fire department, Fire and Emergency Services, as well as Office of Emergency Services with Director Grady. So we're doing that together for the whole city, and we're meeting to come up with a more formalized information, to inform the community, so to speak, of a pandemic and what to do when that happens. If there's an outbreak, what to do. Because we do literatures, we do podcasts, we do social media information. We do have small forums and go to our senior buildings and centers and share those type of things, and in the schools as well. So we're trying to think outside the box. What else can we do? Because we see this pandemic is going to be here for some time. We see our children are dealing with a lot of things in this pandemic. So what can we do for the community that's a little over 90,000 residents, and keeping them informed and abreast of what we can do when an outbreak comes and a pandemic arises. So we are working on that drills, the emergency preparedness piece, and that grant is being formalized as well. But this current grant that we're talking about now is to support the grant of the drills and the dispensary and all of that. So just so you know that it all goes work hand in hand, but they're coming from different areas with the State Department of Health. So it's not all coming together, but once it does, it allows us to flow much easier, smoother when we're doing this. So that's our hope in 2023, that all of this will work out very well, and we'll have the personnel and the resources to do so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. You may move to the vote.
Certainly. Mrs. Caldwell-Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. Mushow,
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins,
Yes.
Ms. McBride.
Yes.
Motion carried. Resolution 22-453, resolution authorizing to rescind Resolution 22-284 and cancel the contract award to Magic Touch Construction Company, Inc. to provide plumbing services on 2 mobile office trailers for Trenton Animal Shelter awarded through Middlesex Educational Services Commission of New Jersey, ESCNJ 2021-18. Work shall be completed within 30 calendar days from notice to proceed in an amount not to exceed $100,942.95 from prior approved ARP funding adopted on October 21st, 2021.
Council President?
Let's get the motion first,
So
Councilwoman,
moved.
and let's get a second.
Second.
All right,
Okay.
you may continue, Councilwoman Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes. Mr. Cruz, is it my understanding, according to this memorandum, that this vendor advised they're not able to perform the work in a timely manner?
That is correct, Councilwoman. They
Well,
will
they
not be able to do. We after getting notification, we tried working with them, and after a little while, they got back to us and said that they were going to try to get it done by June. It wasn't in the beginning. They said it was April. Then they moved it to June. So it's not possible for us to wait that long.
So is it going to be re-RFP'd or?
We were looking to actually award it to the second lowest bidder.
Oh.
And I know Director Ames. Director Ames, do you have somebody else in mind at this moment?
Well, yeah, Council President, may I speak, please?
Yes, but before you speak,
Yes.
Dr. Ames, I think Mr. Colosi needs to step in here, because there's no such thing as giving it to the second person after you've waited and let this contract expire. It has to go back out.
Right.
So
I was going to say that.
okay, because I'm like,
because it's been some time. We're talking about, Business Administrator Cruz, but because it has been some time when it came to us putting out this RFP and the bid, that it's been some time. So we are looking at trying to put the bid out. However, there was a previous the company that provided us the trailers in a previous, prior to my arrival in January of 2021, they included in the resolution the plumbing and electrical work. But being that it was some time, we have to put that RFP back out to include that particular company who supplied us the trailers, but also open it up to others. So that's in a sense what Business Administrator Cruz was trying to say, but we do have to put it back out and include that previous, because we did talk to them and they're willing to do it in a timely fashion, but we still have to open it up to additional agencies to see if they can do the work as well.
Council President, I wasn't finished.
Oh, sorry, Councilwoman.
So how long is this going to take? Because those trailers, we approved them months and months and months ago.
Yes, I am working with the Office of Procurement, and hopefully we can, because we already have it draft. I'm just going to tweak it a little bit, Councilwoman Caldwell-Wilson, and hopefully within a week we can put it the RFP out and put the notice out for bid.
Yeah, because they're overcrowded at the shelter, and they really need to. Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Is there any more questions If not, then we could take this to the vote.
Certainly. Roll call, Ms. Caldwell-Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. Michelle,
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins,
Yes.
Ms. McBride.
Yes.
Motion carried. Resolution 22-458, resolution authorizing the contract awarded to Morton Salt Incorporated for the purchase of treated rock salt to be delivered to the city of Trenton, awarded through the Mercer County Cooperative Contract Purchasing System, CK09 Mercer 2021-19, for a period of 6 months during winter season in an amount not to exceed $200,000. Yeah, that should be $200,000.
Yeah.
That's what it says here on my resolution.
There's a comma where it should be a decimal point. Or at least I have that.
Oh, it looks like 200.
Yeah, it looks like $200 million. In any event, it's not $200 million. It's 200,000.
So moved.
So moved. That's it. So moved.
Second.
Motion second, noted. Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Caldwell-Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. Michelle,
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins,
Yes.
Ms. McBride.
Yes.
Motion carried. Resolution 22-459, resolution accepting a bid and awarding a contract to Calgon Carbon Corporation for the furnishing and delivery of powdered activated carbon for a period of 1 year from November 4th, 2022 to November 3rd, 2023, in an amount not to exceed $803,400.
This failed on the last at the last meeting, Mr. Garcia. And so
yes, Madam President, and
Yes.
after asking that you please reconsider it because we needed the carbon for the treatment of the water, you actually requested to be placed on this meeting. In fact, you even said that you will reconsider it as well.
Council President.
Your no vote will be reconsidered.
Council President.
I don't remember that, Mr. Cruz, because I did definitely say that in the review.
but you did.
At all. Go right ahead, Councilwoman.
Yes. Mr. Cruz, the contract numbers, the contract date is from November to November. It hasn't been awarded. It should be a date that it can be awarded after it's approved.
Yes, we can. I mean, that should not be a problem. We can move it to the December, what's today, the 15th? We can make it December 15th to December 14th of 2023.
So we have to do that amendment.
Yes, we can amend it on the floor. I mean, it's a very small amend it on the floor, and then we can fix it.
And Mr. Cruz, before I was interrupted, what I do remember about this particular resolution is that I said that it was a hefty price tag, and I don't think that we should have been voting on such a hefty price tag. And I asked you if it could wait until the new council came on, because at the time we hadn't even passed the budget, and I felt like that number was a little too steep for me to even consider on my way off the council. I believe that was the conversation that we had. But anyways, Mr. Garcia, you could take it to the vote.
Ms.
We have
Caldwell.
to make amendment first. We have to make sure we have the date amendment in there, Council President.
Okay. Is there a motion for that amendment?
I'll make a motion that the contract date be December, you said 15th, Mr. Cruz?
Yes, December 15th or December 15th.
2022 to
Correct.
December 14th, 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Noted. Second. Roll call, Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. Michelle,
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins?
No vote.
Noted. Ms. McBride?
I'm abstaining.
1, 2, 3, 4. Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve this resolution as amended?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Caldwell-Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. Michelle,
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins,
No vote.
noted. Ms. McBride,
Abstain.
noted as well. Motion carried. Resolution 22-460, resolution exercising the option to extend contract for an additional 1 year awarded to ProCop Security LLC to provide armed security guard services from October 8th, 2022 to October 7th, 2023 in an amount not to exceed $262,800. Bid 2021-40. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So move.
Second,
All right.
Council President?
Council President?
I got a
Yeah.
question.
Okay, Councilwoman Caldwell-Wilson, and then Councilwoman Wilkins, and then Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yes, Mr. Lappenberg, this contract date again is out of date. The contract hasn't been approved yet. It should be from, should be from after today. Mr. Lappenberg?
Mr. Lappenberg is not here, Councilwoman.
Oh, Mr. Cruz?
Mr. Semple.
Mr. Semple.
Yeah,
Go
good,
right ahead. Mhm.
good evening. Yes, we might have to have this also amended to adjust the dates
What dates?
for could be the 15th to the 15th also. 2022 to 2023, December.
Okay.
So when was their contract up? If this was for October, so that's the question that needs to be asked. When was their contract up, Mr. Simpson or
Sample.
Sample?
Yeah, their contract was actually up in October.
And it's just coming to us now. Hello?
Yes.
Why?
Well, the process that we went through to include the DCA approval, this all takes time.
Well, then you have to submit it earlier.
Agreed.
I mean, this is wrong. Every other time we get a contract before us, the contract has already run out, and that's not acceptable. So I will make a motion that the contract dates be changed from December 8th, 2002 to December 15th, 2022 to December 14th, 2023.
Second.
Roll call, Ms. Caldwell-Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. Michelle,
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins,
Yes.
Ms. McBride.
So I'm having a problem with this, and maybe Mr. Cruz or Mr. Kaloji can help me. If their contract was up in October and you push this date to December the 15th, what happens from October the 8th until December the 15th? There's 2 months, almost 2 months in between here with these contracts. So I need to hear some legal advice as far as this contract is concerned. Mr. Kaloji, are you here?
But yes, Council President, there's generally a termination date on every contract. Now, in this particular case, without reviewing the documentation, I can't say that I could give you a clear, unequivocal answer. I would certainly review the documentation and speak
Well,
to
the
Mr. Cruz about it.
gentleman just spoke, Mr. Kaloji, and said that the contract was over on October the 8th. And he is representing the water filtration, the Trenton Waterworks. So he said that it was up on October the 8th. What else do you need, Mr. Kaloji?
It was up. That was the prior contract, or that was the contract before this action that we're taking tonight was up?
Yes, it was up on October the 8th. And
the purpose of the contract tonight is to do what?
Is to renew it. But the contract, so if the contract was up in October and we're moving the date till December the 15th, how does that payment come in between October the 8th and December the 15th? Because there's a lapse in time here.
Yeah, I see. I'm pulling it up right now as you speak.
We want it on the screen?
No, I've got it here.
Okay.
So technically, Mr. Kaloji, they're trying to, they want to backdate this contract.
Excuse
We're on
me.
460, correct? This is the option issue. Are we on 460, 22-460?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the original contract language addresses, based on what I see here, and I don't have all the documentation in front of me, it addresses a one-year option to extend. And that is in the original contract. So by taking the action tonight, you would basically be extending it from the time the extension began in the original contract documents. I know you're not doing it. You're basically doing it in Latin, what they say, nunc pro tunc, now for then. You would be voting now for the one-year extension, but the one-year extension would have to have started back when the contract provided it would have started, which would have been October.
So if that's the case, do we need to amend the date?
No, because the original contract documentation would have provided that the 1 year went from October 8, 22 to October 7, 23. Basically, now you're just approving that extension. If you change anything, you're changing the verbiage of the original contract. So if you vote tonight to extend it, you're extending it for a year, but you're extending it for a year from October 22 to October 23, not December.
All righty. Thank you,
Council
Mr.
President, if I may.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kaloji. Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman.
Yeah, well, technically, this is semantics, because if they wanted an extension, it should still have come to us before the extension started.
In a perfect world,
I'm
I
just
agree
tired
with
of
you,
playing these games that these extensions and these contracts are not coming to us in their appropriate time for us to approve them before they continue on.
I agree with you, Councilwoman Caldwell Wilson, but I was just trying to get some clarity on exactly what we were doing with the dates.
So Mr. Kaloji, if they have the right, they've got an option to extend. Don't we have to have this before us, before the extension would start?
Everything is absolutely supposed to be to the council before the operative dates kick in. We've seen quite frequently, as a matter of course, that doesn't always happen. In this particular case, I don't believe any court would have a problem with the council voting now to enact this one-year option, but you're basically making it retroactively effective to the date in the documentation, which is October. But I totally agree with you. The way to avoid any potential issues is to get the stuff to the council in sufficient time so they can do it before it's out of time. But like I said, on this one tonight, voting on it in December, you're extending it, but you're only extending it back to the time in the contract from October to October. But it would be better to do it the other way. You're absolutely right.
All right, I'll withdraw my motion.
So Councilwoman Caldwell Wilson withdrew her motion. Who seconded?
I'll withdraw my second motion.
All righty, and so then, Mr. Garcia, we will be voting on this resolution based on the actual dates that's on the resolution.
Noted. Give me one moment to remove my note. Okay, roll call. Ms. Caldwell Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Harrison,
Yes.
Mr. Mushal,
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn,
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins,
Yes. They need.
Ms. McBride.
Yes,
Motion carried.
and this is just for you, Mr. Garcia.
Yes,
And like the new council coming on, those
Yes.
dates are very important. When a contract has expired, the administration needs to get it to you prior to the expiration date. They can't bring these contracts 2 months or a month and a half later and expect for it to go through. It needs to be just as the councilwoman from the North Ward stated. They need to be bought in a timely manner.
understood.
So I was keeping on it already. Thank you.
Ma'am.
Is that the last
That is
resolution? And so we can move forward with the public comment.
public comment, yes. Are there any members of the, I'm sorry, my apologies.
No, go right ahead.
Are there any members of the public that wish to speak? Please raise your hand. Are there any members of the public from the phones who wish to speak? Please state
Yes.
something. Yes, I'm
So-
sorry.
Mr. Garcia, would you ask some help from the other council members, because I can't see hands, and in case you overlook them, if you will make sure that we're not overlooking anyone.
Yes, definitely. Ms. Vaughn, I know you're very good at this as well. If you'd help me, please. I don't see any hands, but I did hear someone from the phone. Now I see a hand, but I did hear someone from the phone prior. The individual from the phone, if you could identify yourself.
Yes, Mr. Garcia, it's Faith Ann Pearson.
Thank you.
Two things I wanted to bring to your attention is I read through the ordinance the one ordinance on the very last page of the actual ordinance. It doesn't say.
We don't have an ordinance on this docket.
Well, I'm sorry, resolution then. Resolution then. Let me find it here. It states on the resolution that it's Unity States Department of Environmental Protection. The typographical error should have said United States. I don't know if Unity or Unity States. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and that is because of the voting situation and city council is running out, probably not being able to come on in January, my suggestion was to bring the January to the very last week of the month of January's meeting. And instead of it having an actual council meeting with elections and stuff, allow the new members to come on, announce themselves, more like a listening or not so much that as a council being answering, the machine answering, but this way you have the new council members being able to describe what they have towards and how they're going to work with the within themselves with the members of the residents and the mayor. It's just a suggestion because since we do not have the formal new city council members, and they probably won't get signed in until well after the 25th of January, it was just a suggestion that we put off January's actual meeting and make it more towards a information on the new council and have the mayor and all on the call. Thank you.
Is there anyone else, Mr. Garcia?
Yes, I see here Evangeline.
Go right ahead, Ms. Ugori.
Ms. Evangeline, are you able to speak? I'm going to ask you.
Can you hear me?
I can now. Yes.
Okay. Thank you kindly for the opportunity to speak. I don't know if I'm getting it correctly. Is this the last meeting for this council session?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you kindly. So I wanted to say thank you all for serving. It has been quite the ride. I want you all to know, if nobody else, I have taken copious notes, and it's still a work in progress. I don't know about my other fellow citizens in this here city of Trenton, but I personally have a question or wanted to comment that to date, if I were to ask each and every one of you, including the ones that are no longer here, what has been your legislative accomplishment on this council session? I wonder, can any one of you answer that question with any clarity for me? I know this is not a question and answer session, it's just a public comment. I say that to say, in light of what's going on, we are taking notes, and it's been very good, learning experience. And it continues to be a work in progress. Thank you all. God bless.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Are there any other members who wish to speak?
Yes, Mary Horn. Hello?
Go right ahead,
Yes.
Ms. Horn.
Hi, Council President McBride. Thank you. I still haven't received any information on our traffic calming solutions for Oakland Civic and also the lead line replacements here.
For your, you never got, Mr. Onateri never reached out to you about your speed bumps nor your lead line replacement?
No, ma'am, I haven't received it as of yet.
Mr. Garcia, would you please make a note of that and reach out to Mr. Onateri tomorrow? Because this taxpayer had asked for that information back at our last meeting.
Certainly. Very quickly, I have traffic calming, and what was the other item? I apologize.
The lead line replacement.
Lead line replacement. Thank you.
What phase are they in?
What phase? Okay. I'll have an email to Mr. Onateri.
And thank you. Is that it, Ms. Horn?
Yes, actually, if I could add to the phase, I'd like to know where we are here in the West Ward in particular. Okay.
To the West Ward.
In particular.
Understood.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you, Council President.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Council President, I have one more. Injustice Anywhere. If you
Justice Anywhere.
Yes.
Yes. Could he? Yes. Just put his name and his address on the record, please.
Sure. Thank you. My name is Aparna Chowdhury. I have a business at 946 Greenwood.
How are you?
And I just wanted to say, because it is one of our last council meetings with the outgoing group of council members, I wanted to basically mention to everyone that, when people go into politics, it can be these council meetings have been very difficult, I should say. The quality of the discourse has been disrespectful at times. Sometimes it's involved out and out, disparagement and criticism that amount to attacks. Nonetheless, the people that have served, the outgoing council members, all of them came here with the larger goal and the motivation of Trenton's greater good. And I wanted to thank them for their service. I think that Trenton politics are in particular contentious. The language is particularly difficult, and all of our council members have dealt with that and oftentimes maintain themselves through that. I don't understand why certain council members necessarily in every case receive different levels of criticism. But we had a difficult group, or I should say a difficult level of conversation. We have outgoing council members who refuse police directives. That didn't receive the same attention that other council members received for their misdeeds. But I think that everybody served and took out of their time to participate in something which is where they open themselves up to public criticism, which is very difficult. They open themselves to all kind of disparagement, and I'm sure it wasn't an easy task. So I wanted to thank all of them for having served and taken your time to serve the city, and for your concern and care for Trenton. And good luck in all your future endeavors.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, Mr. Garcia? Do you see any hands?
Yes.
Hold on. Is there anyone from the phones? I don't see any other hands, but I just heard an individual. Go ahead.
Yes, my name, Councilwoman McBride. My name is Letitia Peters. I'd like to discuss about the two resolutions that you pulled. What exactly additional information do you need? Because these have been on the docket for a while. And when do you intend to have a resolution? I mean, just like you discussed about this contract that
right. If you were listening to us when we talked about pulling them,
you just say pull and you need additional information, but what exactly additional information are you looking for? I mean, we're going back in January.
Excuse me.
These are months and months.
Excuse me, ma'am. When I said they were being pulled, I stated that they were being pulled by the administration. The administration said that they needed time to gather up more information in light of some type of circumstances that has arisen. It had nothing to do with the council. The administration pulled them, and they didn't give us. They did not give us that information. They just said that they needed to pull them because they needed to get more information. It was not anything that the council did. And so we had to grant the administration the privilege of pulling them.
May I ask Mayor Reed what exactly information?
Well, you would have to ask Mayor Reed from his office. This is a council meeting.
I will do that.
All right.
Another thing about, yes, thank you for answering that. And about this they provided security for the last 2 months. So has that been paid, or we're going to backtrack? Because when you in a contract and you're late on delivering, extending that contract, has that contract lapsed? Have they still been providing security? And if so, are you going back to award for the last since October? It's December. Have they still been providing security? I haven't heard that answer. Because if your contract stops, you should have provided this to City Council several months prior to the contract stopping. Should not be extending a contract. There's a period of about 2 months, 2 months and a half now. So I didn't hear anyone addressing the issue, or were they still providing security for the last 2.5 months? And if so, will the city be compensating them for those last 2.5 months? You just can't say, well, we're going to start here, but what about those last 2.5 months? I have detailed experience in contracts, and you just can't do that. You just can't say, well, we're going to start here. But if a contract, if they've been providing services, and someone from legal should know, have they been providing these services since October the 8th? You just can't just go back and say, well, we're going to start here in December. If they've still been providing the services, then the city should continue with their contract from October. So I don't completely understand. You just can't start contracts 2.5 months later and say, well, we're going to retract. And this is something I'm hearing several times about the city awarding contracts months and months later. And I want to put on record that someone really needs to look at all the contracts and make sure that they are awarded in a timely fashion, not after the contract has ended, terminated. That's not good business practice, especially for the city of Trenton, the capital.
Thank you, Mayor.
It's Letitia Peters.
Thank you, Ms. Thank you, Ms. Peters.
Contract acknowledged.
Right.
And
Thank
I
you,
want
Ms.
to say,
Peters.
just like some other people have said, I thank the city council for the work they have done. But sometimes it has been contentious, and the meetings have been very, very long. But we have learned what we need to do and not to do in the next couple of years. And I pray for the city to run in a fashion that is beneficial to all Trentonians and not to a select few. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, and God bless everyone.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ms. Peters. Is there anyone else?
You're welcome.
With their hands up?
I have unknown, if you please identify yourself.
Yes, Chad Johnson from the Southwood. I just like to say that it's been a rough 4 years in the city of Trenton. I'm looking forward to the new city council coming on, and hopefully they can bring the city back to what it used to be. And I just want to give a shout out to my Southwood councilman, George Michel, for all his hard and dedicated work in the past 14 years. Every time I called him, he did come out and take care of the problem. And to Joe Harrison for his hard dedication work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Garcia, do you see any more hands?
I see no other hands. Are there anyone from the phones? I'm hearing none, Council President.
I'll make a motion to close public comment.
So moved. Second?
Noted. Roll call, Ms. Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
Mr. Michelle. Mr. Michelle? Okay. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
Ms. Wilkins?
Yes.
Ms. McBride?
Yes.
Noted. Motion carried. Public comments closed.
Civic comment. Yes, civic comment. Yes, I will start from Councilwoman Wilkins.
Yes, good evening. I want to take an opportunity to say thank you to the city of Trenton. It has been truly an honor and a privilege to serve you on this council since February of 2022. It's been, and it seems like it's been a little longer, but I do appreciate the honor. I appreciate my council members who supported me to come on board to serve in this capacity. It's been a great experience. It's given me a different view and what they would call, I guess, a bird's eye view to actually be employed for 27 years and to come on board and to serve in the capacity of a legislator for the amount of time that I have, and to see how the city works in all cylinders and functions. What I say, there are many and that are actually engaged. I say to you, stay engaged, continue to be a part of your city government. I will. This is my home. This is where I pay taxes. I own a home. I raise my children and my family is here. And my goal is to stay engaged within the city government as I have done over the past 30 years, just in a different capacity. But I will be engaged in what goes on in our city because it matters to me. I say to Miss Mary Horn, Miss Evangeline DeGorgi, Miss Aparna Chowdhury, Miss Faith Ann Pearson, just to name a few, continue to speak up and speak out. Continue all to educate yourselves on what's going on in the city. It is very, very important because it all affects you. Whether you're a resident, whether you're a taxpayer, it affects you. From young to old, the public school system, the waterworks, everything affects you. Do your own history. Do your own research. I apologize. Do your own research to learn the history of things so that you know what the present and the future could possibly bring. It is important to be engaged in city government and what goes on, and not just city government, because we are affected by the county, we are affected by the state, and we are truly affected by the federal government. That's where our funding comes from. So continue to do what it is that you do in your own way. Everyone doesn't come the same way. Everyone doesn't do the same type of research, but continue to stay engaged and be informed in your own way. I wish the new council all of the best. This road is not an easy road. Someone told me a long time ago that sometimes when you're a part of something, the way you handle yourself and the way you conduct your business, you make it look easy. This is not an easy task. It's not an easy road. There are a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. There are a lot of attacks, and a lot of the attacks are not on the same even playing field. But I say to you, continue to be engaged. As I entered into this position, the statements that I made when I came on board, I was humbled and appreciative. And I want to leave you with, I love Trenton. I am Trenton, and I'm just a kid from Trenton. Everyone enjoy your holiday, however you choose to celebrate. And I wish you all a blessed new year. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, Trenton, God bless, and God bless our city. Thank you.
Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yes. Good evening, all. And I appreciate everyone who has consistently shown up in the chambers at City Hall pre-pandemic and online post-pandemic. We didn't get to accomplish, well, firstly, it certainly is a privilege and an honor to have served. And I hope I have made the measure, maybe not an A+ or a 4.0, but we are all a work in progress, just like our city is. So the expectation is never for anyone to be perfect. But the expectation is when you come to serve, you serve and you make some contribution and you try to leave things better than when you arrived. And I have achieved some sound policies that will be long-standing, that I'm very proud of. And I hope that the folks who succeed me continue to focus on building the city of Trenton's framework back up in place, because it has been torn down. A government or any organization can't operate without controls, without solid pillars, without structure, sound structures. And that's what the city of Trenton is lacking. And you don't get sound structures without implementing policy and laws and ordinance and enforcing those policies and ordinance and laws. And holding those who are accountable to do that, to that role. Because with those laws and ordinances and policies that aren't enforced, you get what you get, chaos. And chaos will run rampant. When you're operating an organization, a government without controls, without adequate oversight, you get what you get. And you see this in Trenton. And those are the things that this administration and this council has not achieved. We've done some strategic things. We moved the election. We got staggered terms. We got an elected school board. We failed to get the MOU lifted and minimize state oversight. We failed to get our city fiscally healthy, economically healthy. We failed to install a redevelopment agency. We failed to improve the socio-economic conditions of the residents of the city. We failed to increase public safety. During my term and tenure and the current mayor's tenure from 2018 to now, we lost to homicides 133 Trentonians. So we have still lots of work to be done. And we should hold the city council accountable, the county board of commissioners, our state appointed, our state elected officials on the 15 legislative district, our 12th congressional district congresswoman. We need to hold all our elected officials accountable and ensure that they are working the agenda in the interest of the taxpayers of the city of Trenton and the electorate of the city of Trenton. Too often, we don't even know who our elected officials are. Most of us can't even name who the county commissioners are, and they all serve at large. And every single one of them never come to Trenton. Very rarely do we see our state legislator, only for photo ops. And rarely we see the congresswoman. So we could do a lot of things better. I just want to say, I got 5 minutes left, that the socio-economic condition of the city of Trenton is something that's a serious matter. And Mayor Gus Ure, in the next 4 years, he should focus on that to ensure there's a level playing field for the residents and taxpayers of this city, not for outsiders. That Trentonians have fair and equal and equitable access to the services and programs that is available at City Hall. I just got a call just this week that people are being asked to come into City Hall and they got to show a license and got stopped. That's unacceptable. So we want to see equity in the city of Trenton, that everybody has access and to the programs and services that are offered in the city. Not just folks who live in certain neighborhoods. You have Ms. Horn, who has applied a whole neighborhood of folks over there in the Oakland Civic Association who are still waiting for speed bumps. And I know that neighborhood over there. They applied and they completed their petition and paperwork as instructed, Anthony and Santoro and Wally Ontario, before Hiltonia neighborhood, before the Hillcrest neighborhood. So why hasn't their neighborhood gotten the speed lumps yet? See, it's stuff like that that ruins our community. The unfairness, the targeting, the bias. It's unacceptable. And that's the administration. The other thing I would say is we focus on getting the crime rate down, the homicides down. And you do that by giving people jobs, give them an opportunity to earn a living wage, hiring local, contracting local, holding these nonprofit organizations accountable. Get rid of the ones, take their tax exempt status away if they're not contributing and providing the service that they should be. Focus more on giving people opportunity to open businesses for profit. We don't need 1,000 nonprofits, do nothing nonprofits who take the money and don't deliver the services and don't even want to report their evidentiary-based outcomes. The other thing that I wanted to just say is about home rule. I came into this council, we talked about getting rid of the MOU. And we were disappointed. Budget after budget, 4 budget cycles in DCA. What an organization. I believe Chris Christie, the former governor, was correct. That department, the New Jersey Department of community fairs needs to be eliminated. They're a waste. They have not changed Trenton's fiscal health for the past 10 years, and we're still under the MOU. That MOU is not worth the paper it's written on. The issue with the state and the MOU, Trentonians, we have to have a serious conversation about the state and its interference in Trenton and taking them to task. It's time to go to court. It's time for them to pay their fair share of the taxes. They have intervention in every facet of our city where they have no business interfering in municipal affairs. No business. It's unconstitutional. We saw the state interference in a nonpartisan election. It's a disgrace. It's undemocratic and even perhaps unlawful. The city of Trenton has a nonpartisan election. We should not see any influence from a state union, from the governor, from the state assembly, from special interests. None of that. We allow that to happen in our election, our local nonpartisan election. There are rules as to how much money that could be spent per candidate, and folks think it's okay to walk around and break the law, unfettered. So we should make certain that we start holding folks accountable. The other thing that I just wanted to say very quickly, as my time is running out, is that we're going to have a school board election. We're type 2 school district, an elected school board. There are 9 seats. Everyone who's interested in one of those seats and running and serving that school district and turning it around and making it a blue ribbon school district, which we can do. It now reports to the people and is accountable to the citizens and taxpayers of the city. Get on that board, run for it. I am happy and I am going to run for it myself, one of those seats. The candidate package should be ready this month. The election is the third Tuesday in April, which is April 18th, 2023. The candidate filing period should be now. I know every other town where there's an elected school board and their election is in April 2023, their candidate packets have already been distributed. And I don't know what the status is over at the business administrator's office over at the school board, the Trenton Public School District. Her name, just in case anyone wants to know or don't know, her name is Mrs. Jane Howard. And you should contact her office and find out whether or not the school board's candidate registration packet is available. And it's so, we have, I think, from January to the end of February to get our petition signed and get on that board. I just want folks to know it's not a paid board. And that's standard throughout the state of New Jersey. So it's strictly volunteer, but certainly a fulfilling and great way to serve your community. And your school district is one of your most prized assets. So it feeds redevelopment. It's the pipeline of our workforce. So it has almost a $400 million budget, and it's a lot of opportunity to learn and move the city forward. And thank you, Council President. Thank you all. And of course, Robin Vaughn is going nowhere. I live in the West Ward. I pay taxes. I vote here. And you'll see me around town. And hopefully, you guys will elect me to the school board. Thank you very much. And see you all around. Thank you. I yield my time, Council President, for the last time.
Councilman Michelle.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I just like to say how everything started 14 years ago when I left the police department. And I turned around and said to my wife, I'm going to run for office, city council. She said, you'll never make it. But she said, I support you 110%. And that's what I got from my wife. 110%. City councils check and bounce over the mayors, which I served under 4 of them. During this time, I realized that a lot of the residents were not getting the service that they required and asked for. So I took it on my own to go over and above any phone call that came in, running 4 phones out of our office, which was my residence, the laundromat that I built 40 years ago. So based on all that information, my wife documented every job that came in that phone. 27,000 jobs came in. 27,000 jobs. No matter what you called, she documented into the book, time, date, your name, and disposition. And they're all there to be seen if anybody wants to see them before my last day's up. We went on a journey, picking the phones up and going out to every ward in the city of Trenton who called. It didn't matter. It didn't matter who called. I went to the West. I was a South Ward Council. We went to the West. We installed lights throughout the whole city, if you know it or you don't know it. We gave the brightest lights around for all the high crime areas. The high crime areas where there was numerous shootings. Stuyvesant and Huffman, Hermitage and Stuyvesant, Lamberton Street, Jersey Street, Cummings Avenue. We lit it up. People want to see it was lit up. We lit it up. I took days and months to do this. I didn't ask for no support. I went out. I felt it was my job as a council person for people calling up. They wanted new lighting. So we went out and did it. During this whole time, I had support from the mayors. I just want to say, present and future mayors, Mayor Reed, gave me the support that I needed, and we went forward. It should have been done a lot better, but he did give me the support that he never said no to get things done in the city of Trenton. Marie Richardson, to plus. For recreations, all your Walter Park, all your parks, changing the lights, and that's not done yet. 3 weeks left. I'm going to sign somebody, possibly Joe Harrison, to get the things done. So everybody's happy with everything. Stacy Park was on the radar. Stacy Park on the radar to put lights all the way down to the water department. That's in the making. Just to give you an idea. Riverside Avenue was lit up. That area was lit up, if you don't know it. But things can get done. Once again, I said, council people are check and bounce over the mayor. I went over and above. I felt it was my job. If you called me on the phone and you had a problem, no matter what time, we answered to the time. We got a knock on the door at 3 o'clock in the morning. There's a person being locked up. We got dressed and we went out and helped them out. When people are in distress, they have nobody else to talk to. They want to talk to a council person. They always came here to talk to me. And that's the way I felt it should be. That's not the way it's in a book. We're check and bounce once again over the mayor. But I took it one step further. Joe Harris takes it that step. He followed in my shoes before he was even a council person. Joe Harris would call me up. He was doing cleanups, and I helped him do cleanups. And Joe continued the trend, and I think he'll continue the trend until he's done serving. He serves the people well. You just can't hang up on somebody calling you. For the police department, Tina had 40 years under my belt. 40 years under my belt. People called up with police problems with their vehicles. I try to help them out and get them resolved, and took the load off the police department. So on a note, at the South Ward, we should have a new person in there. The individual one, it's not been 100% until she's notified, but she will take my position, and I believe she'll do a great job. So on that note, I'm going to say God bless the city of Trenton, and I have nothing further, Council President. Just that all the directors did a good job in there, and once again, if we stay with them, the directors, we'll get work done. We work together, we'll make a beautiful city. There's a lot to be done yet. Thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you. Councilman Harrison?
Yes, I'd like to start off by George. Any information you got, you can count on me to get it done. I'd like to thank the people of this great city. The last 4 years have been tough. We should have been doing business. We should have been able to talk things out. Should have worked things out. It just never seemed to come with fruition for the people. The staff, the directors, you worked hard. You should have never had to put up with a lot of stuff that you had to. It was not right. It should have never happened. But like I said, at my old saying is, at the end of the day, the city will move forward. Yep, and the new council, we'll get to work and continue to move forward. So thank you, George, for all the many years of service. Thank you, Marge, for all the things you've done for the animal shelter. Thank you to the rest of my colleagues. I wish we could have agreed on more things and got things done. But it is what it is. But I appreciate all the people who take the time to call all of us with issues, who come to meetings, community meetings, who want to see us do redevelopment, who want us to see us, if a building can't be saved, to take it down, who want to see the city move forward. People of this city deserve the best. And us always arguing and all us fighting does not do anybody any good. Doesn't do anybody any good. So with that being said, in the near future, we'll learn how all the rest of the council will be. So let's get to work. Thank you. And Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Kwanzaa to everybody in this great city. Thank you.
Councilwoman Caldwell-Wilson? Councilwoman Caldwell-Wilson?
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everybody. First of all, I want to congratulate Councilman Harrison on his re-election. Thank you for your service. Councilman Michelle, I hope you have a wonderful retirement, and thank you for everything you have done for the city. And for my colleagues, Ms. Vaughn, Council President Kathy McBride, and Councilwoman Sonia Wilkins, I wish you well, and thank you for your service for the past 4 years. Since this is my last council meeting, it's a bittersweet moment for me. I want to thank all of my constituents in the North Ward for having trust in electing me for 3 terms on council as their representative. Throughout the last 12 years, I have made many friends and gained an extended family. Please don't give up on our great city. It is my hope that the newly elected council will be able to form a working relationship with the mayor and administration in an effort to move the city forward. Many things have been accomplished, and there is so much more to be done. I plan to stay involved in the city, specifically with the animal shelter, but it will be good to have my personal life back. I will miss working with all of you. Thank you, directors, and all of the employees in the city, including our firemen, our police, and Thames, for what you do. This city is a melting pot made up of many nationalities. We must represent all of them, not just the majority. We are all residents of this city and deserve equal representation. I urge the new council to remember that when they speak on the dais, you're obligated to represent all at all times and not diminish the worth of the minority. It's time to move on with new leaders with a new vision for the city. I wish the mayor and council well and remind you it's not about you, it's about our families and children. May you all have a Merry Christmas and a healthy and safe New Year. Thank you again for all allowing me to serve for 12 years. God bless and good night. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is to the public and to all of the directors. A lot has been said here tonight, and so I will not be redundant. I would just like to thank my colleagues because when I came on in 2018, I was elected as the first female president of the city council for a 4-year term. And that meant a lot to me. They gave me their vote of confidence, and I did my best to serve the city. For the incoming council members, I would just like to say to each and every one of you that your material is very important. You must read your material. You are the checks and the balances. You are the purse string to the city of Trenton. It all starts and ends with the council. Please take this opportunity to read and get yourself a Robert Rules Handbook and a copy of the Faulkner's Act. And for all of you incoming council members, I would hope that you understand that we fought to be able to keep an attorney for the council. And I would hope that you would understand that it was a fight that was worth fighting. We won, and we have Mr. Kaloji. And I would like to thank Mr. Kaloji, but I would hope that the incoming council understands the importance of Mr. Kaloji and that they would keep him on so that they will be able to get the legal advice that they need in order to make their decisions. And I would just like to say to the community at large that at the end of my day, as Councilman Harrison always says, I will always be able to sleep at night knowing that I made the best decisions that I could make for the residents. Because most of the residents in the city of Trenton are family members and close friends and my neighbors. I've been here all of my natural life, and I appreciate their vote of confidence in me. And to all of my colleagues that I served with, it has not been the easiest 4 years, but they were teachable moments, and I appreciate it all. If you ask me if I would do it over again, the answer would be no. But there was some very, very good moments. There were things that we accomplished that had not been accomplished in years. We understood what our positions were, and we acted accordingly. And so to that end, Mr. Kaloji, I want to thank you again. I really appreciate your support. I feel as though you have been a beacon for us. I mean, like you have made sure that we understood what the procurement laws were, whatever we came to you with, you were there to assist us. And I appreciate that. And I would want to thank Councilwoman Wilkins for accepting the seat, the vacant seat that Councilman Blakely abandoned. I would like to thank you for filling that seat for the remaining of the term. And to all of the directors, we have not always been on the same page, but we seem to work our way through it. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a blessed holiday and a happy new year. And I wish all of you the best. Mr. Garcia?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All say aye.
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 Bye, everybody.
Good night, all. Be safe.
Bye.
Take care all. Have a great evening.
Yes.